The massive black ships moved through space like dark mountains floating among the stars. Admiral Kexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Render, and looked at the small blue planet ahead. His 12-foot frame cast a long shadow across the metal floor as he studied the reports from his scouts. "Sir, the planet has one major landmass and several smaller ones," reported Captain Zorhan, his voice deep and rumbling. "Our scans show billions of small creatures living on the surface. They appear to be only 5 to 6 feet tall on average." Admiral Kexthal laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Tiny weaklings. This will be easier than taking candy from a child." He had conquered 47 worlds in his long career. Each time the story was the same. The Vorthak Empire arrived, showed their massive ships and towering warriors, and the local species surrendered without a fight. "What about their technology level?" asked the Admiral. "Primitive, sir. They still use chemical rockets to barely escape their own atmosphere. Their weapons are simple metal projectiles and basic explosives, nothing that could scratch our shields." The Admiral nodded. The Vorthak had energy weapons that could melt steel in seconds. Their ships could survive direct hits from nuclear weapons. These tiny Earth creatures would be helpless against such power. Far below on Earth, Dr. Kim Dae sat in his observatory outside Seoul, South Korea. The night was clear, and his powerful telescope pointed toward the outer solar system. He had been tracking unusual objects for 3 days now. At first he thought they might be asteroids, but asteroids did not move in perfect formation. Kim Dae was a thin man with tired eyes from too many late nights studying the stars. He had spent 20 years as an astrophysicist, but he had never seen anything like this. The objects were too large to be natural and moving too purposefully to be random space debris. He picked up his phone and called his old friend Dr. Park Hai. Even though it was past midnight, he knew she would answer. Park Hai worked for the Korean Defense Ministry and never seemed to sleep. "Hi, you need to see this," Kim Dae said when she answered. "I have been tracking unknown objects approaching Earth. They are definitely artificial." "How many objects?" Park Hai asked. Her voice was calm and professional even at this late hour. 17 large ships, maybe more behind them. They are still too far away to get exact numbers, but they are definitely ships. Park Hai was quiet for a moment. As a military strategist, she understood what this meant. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, maybe 3 days. Send me all your data. I need to wake up some very important people." In his underground laboratory beneath Seoul, Li Bo noticed the electromagnetic signatures at the same time. The young engineer was only 25, but he had already designed 3 revolutionary energy systems for the Korean government. His sensitive equipment picked up the unusual energy patterns from the approaching ships. Li Bo studied the readings with growing excitement. The energy signatures were like nothing in Earth's technology, but they followed patterns he could understand. Whoever built these ships used advanced physics, but they also made some interesting choices about how to generate and use power. Meanwhile, aboard the World Render, the Vorthak continued their approach. The communication officers worked to decode human transmissions, expecting to find simple grunts and basic words. Instead, they found something that confused them greatly. "Sir," said Communications Officer Veltar, "these creatures have developed complex language systems. They appear to communicate using mathematical concepts, artistic expressions, and what seems to be humor." Admiral Kexthal frowned. In all his conquests, he had never encountered humor from a species about to be invaded. Fear, anger, desperation, yes, but not jokes and laughter. They must be too primitive to understand the danger, the Admiral decided. Continue monitoring their communications. But the more they listened, the more puzzled the Vorthak became. The humans discussed physics concepts that the Vorthak understood but had taken centuries to develop. They created art that showed deep emotional complexity. They told stories that demonstrated advanced imagination and problem-solving abilities. Captain Zorhan brought the most disturbing report to the Admiral. "Sir, I intercepted a transmission from their scientists. They are discussing quantum mechanics and theoretical physics at a level that matches our own understanding." "Impossible," Admiral Kexthal growled. "Show me." The captain played a recording of a conference call between human scientists. They discussed concepts like quantum entanglement, dark matter, and multidimensional physics with the same ease that Vorthak scientists used. Some of their theories were actually more advanced than current Vorthak knowledge. "These creatures are 5 feet tall," the Admiral said slowly. How can they understand such complex concepts? This was the first crack in the Admiral's confidence. In Vorthak society, intelligence directly related to physical size. The larger the Vorthak, the smarter they were. It was a universal truth that had never been questioned. Dr. Kim Day continued his observations, now joined by Dr. Park Hai and a team of military analysts. They watched the alien ships slow down as they entered the outer solar system. "They are definitely slowing for our planet," Kim Day reported. "Whatever they want, it involves Earth." Park Hai studied the formation patterns. "These ships are arranged for invasion, not exploration. We need to contact the international community immediately." Li Bo arrived at the observatory with portable equipment to analyze the alien energy signatures in more detail. As he set up his instruments, he made a discovery that would prove crucial in the days ahead. "The ships are powerful," he told the others, "but their energy systems are inefficient. They use brute force instead of elegant solutions. It is like using a sledgehammer to crack an egg." Park Hai understood immediately. "You think their technology has weaknesses?" "All technology has weaknesses," Li Bo said with a small smile. "The question is whether we can find them in time." Aboard the World Render, Admiral Kexithal gave his final orders before the invasion began. "Prepare the standard ultimatum. These tiny creatures will surrender when they see our power. If they refuse, we will demonstrate why the Vorthak Empire has never been defeated." But deep in his mind, a small doubt had begun to grow. Something about these humans did not fit the pattern of previous conquests. They were too calm, too confident, too prepared. The Admiral pushed these thoughts away. Size mattered. Strength mattered. The Vorthak were 12 feet tall and had conquered dozens of worlds. The humans were tiny and had never left their own planet. This would be easy. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. The Vorthak diplomatic ship landed in a field 30 kilometers outside Seoul with the grace of a falling mountain. The massive vessel crushed several ancient oak trees under its weight, leaving deep scars in the earth. Steam rose from the heated metal as the ship's engines cooled in the morning air. Commander Val Resch led the diplomatic party down the ship's ramp. At 13 feet tall, he was even larger than most Vorthak, chosen specifically to intimidate the small Earth creatures. His armor gleamed black in the sunlight, and energy weapons hung at his sides like metal thunder. Behind him marched 6 more Vorthak warriors, each one a giant compared to human standards. They expected to find cowering primitives waiting for them. Instead, they found a small group of humans, standing calmly in the field, as if giants from space landed in their backyard every day. General Yoon Tae stood at the front of the human group. He was a decorated Korean military officer who had served in 3 international conflicts. At 5 feet 6 inches, he barely reached the aliens' waists, but he showed no fear as the massive beings approached. His uniform was neat and clean, and his posture was straight and confident. Beside him stood Dr. Kim Day, still wearing the clothes he had worn during his 3 days of observations. The astrophysicist carried a tablet computer filled with notes and questions about the alien technology. His eyes held curiosity instead of terror. Ms. Choi's son completed the human delegation. She was a linguistics professor from Seoul National University who spoke 12 Earth languages and had spent the last 2 days creating a basic translation system for the alien communications they had intercepted. Her job was to make sure both species understood each other clearly. Commander Valresh stopped 10 feet away from the humans and activated his translation device. When he spoke, his voice boomed across the field like distant thunder. "I am Commander Valresh of the Vorthak Empire," he announced. "Your species will submit to our rule immediately, or you will be eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is an ultimatum." The standard speech had worked on 47 other worlds. Species would either surrender immediately or attack in hopeless desperation. Either way, the result was always the same. Vorthak victory. But General Yoon Tae simply smiled politely and bowed slightly, as if greeting an honored guest. "Welcome to Earth, Commander Valresh," he said in perfect Korean, which Ms. Choi's son immediately translated. "We appreciate you traveling such a long distance to visit our world. However, I am afraid we must respectfully decline your offer of submission. Perhaps instead we could discuss trade agreements or cultural exchange programs." Commander Valresh stared at the tiny human in complete confusion. No species had ever responded to a Vorthak ultimatum by suggesting trade agreements. The concept was so unexpected that he actually took a step backward. You decline? He asked, his voice uncertain for the first time in his military career. Yes, we decline, General Yuntai repeated patiently. But we would be happy to discuss other forms of cooperation that might benefit both our peoples. Dr. Kim Dae stepped forward and began asking questions that made the aliens even more uncomfortable. Commander, I am very interested in your faster-than-light travel system, the scientist said enthusiastically. Based on our observations of your ship's energy signatures, you appear to be using some form of space-time manipulation. Are you working with Alcubierre drive principles, or have you discovered something completely different? Commander Valoresh looked at his warriors in confusion. The human was asking about concepts that most Vorthak scientists struggled to understand. How do you know about space-time manipulation? The commander asked. Oh, human scientists have been working on theoretical faster-than-light travel for decades, Dr. Kim Dae replied cheerfully. We just have not had the engineering capability to build the systems yet. Your arrival is fascinating from a physics perspective. In his underground laboratory, Li Bo monitored the meeting through satellite feeds while continuing his analysis of the alien ships. His instruments showed him details about the Vorthak technology that even their own engineers might not fully understand. The young engineer discovered something important. The alien ships were incredibly powerful, but they were also incredibly wasteful. They used 10 times more energy than necessary for most operations. Their weapons were like using explosives to light a candle. Li Bo began calculating how this inefficiency could be exploited. If the aliens relied on brute force instead of efficiency, they would have predictable weaknesses. Back in the field, Ms. Choi Sun engaged the Vorthak linguist in conversation about communication systems. She pretended to be merely curious about their language, but she was actually gathering intelligence about their military terminology and tactical thinking. Your language structure suggests a very hierarchical society, she observed. Do you use different speech patterns when addressing superiors versus subordinates? The Vorthak linguist, caught off guard by the sophisticated question, began explaining their social structure in detail. He did not realize he was giving away crucial information about their military organization and command systems. Commander Valresh tried to regain control of the situation. You do not understand, he said, his voice rising. The Vorthak Empire has conquered 47 worlds. We have never been defeated. Your submission is inevitable. General Yuntai nodded politely. That is very impressive, Commander. However, Earth has fought thousands of wars among our own species and learned many different ways of conflict resolution. We have found that cooperation usually works better than conquest for long-term success. You dare to lecture us about warfare? Commander Valresh demanded. Not lecture, General Yuntai corrected gently. Share experience. Every species has something to teach and something to learn. The Vorthak had never encountered such calm confidence from a species they were trying to intimidate. Usually the demonstration of their size and technology was enough to cause immediate surrender or desperate attacks. These humans seemed genuinely interested in discussion rather than submission or violence. Dr. Kim Dae continued asking technical questions that revealed humanity's understanding of advanced physics. He inquired about quantum mechanics, energy conversion efficiency, and gravitational field manipulation with the casual expertise of someone who had studied these concepts for years. Commander Valresh realized that something was very wrong with this first contact. The humans were not behaving like any species the Vorthak had encountered before. They showed no fear, demonstrated advanced knowledge, and seemed to be treating the invasion as an interesting academic exercise. I need to consult with my superiors, Commander Valresh announced abruptly. Of course, General Yuntai replied. We will need to consult with our international colleagues as well. Shall we reconvene tomorrow to continue our discussions? The suggestion that they would need time to consult with colleagues puzzled the Vorthak even more. Most species either had a single leader who made all decisions, or they descended into chaos when faced with invasion. The idea of an organized international consultation process was completely foreign to their experience. As the aliens returned to their ship, Ms. Choi Sun made notes about everything they had learned. The Vorthak military structure, their technological capabilities, their social hierarchy, and most importantly, their expectations about how invasions should proceed. They are not prepared for a species that refuses to play by their rules, she told General Yun Tai. Dr. Kim Dae was equally optimistic. Their technology is advanced but unimaginative. They have more raw power than us, but they use it inefficiently. General Yun Tai activated his secure communication device and began contacting military leaders around the world. Within hours, every major nation on Earth would know exactly what they were facing. Aboard the Vorthak ship, Commander Valresh reported to Admiral Kexthal with growing confusion. "Sir, these humans are not responding according to established patterns. They show no fear. They possess advanced scientific knowledge, and they appear to be organized globally." Admiral Kexthal felt his confidence crack a little more. Impossible. Small species cannot achieve global organization, continue with standard intimidation protocols. But both aliens were beginning to suspect that humans might not be a standard species at all. General Yun Tai excused himself from the second day of negotiations with a polite bow. "Commander Valresh, I hope you will understand that we need some time to discuss your proposals with our colleagues around the world. Perhaps we could resume our talks in a few days?" Commander Valresh had grown more frustrated with each passing hour. The Vorthak had threatened to destroy the city of Seoul as a demonstration of their power, but the humans had responded by offering to relocate the meeting to a less populated area so that civilian safety could be maintained during our discussions. They treated the threat of planetary destruction like a minor scheduling conflict. "Very well," Commander Valresh growled. "You have 48 hours to make your decision. Submit or face the consequences." What the aliens did not understand was that the human decision had already been made. The moment Dr. Kim Dae had detected their ships, Earth's response had begun. Within 6 hours of General Yun Tai's first report, secure communications had reached every major capital on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, and military leaders across 6 continents received the same message. Earth faced invasion by a technologically superior alien species, but the invaders had significant tactical disadvantages that could be exploited. Dr. Park Hai coordinated the international response from a secure facility beneath Seoul. As a military strategist, she had spent years studying asymmetric warfare, how smaller, weaker forces could defeat larger, stronger enemies. The principles that worked against human armies would work even better against aliens who had never faced real resistance. "The Vorthak expect traditional warfare," she explained to military leaders via encrypted video conference. "They expect us to mass our forces and attack their ships directly. They are prepared for that kind of fight. We will give them a completely different kind of war." In London, General Harrison nodded. "Asymmetric response. Use their size and expectations against them." "Exactly," Dr. Park Hai confirmed. "They are large, powerful, and used to easy victories. We are small, flexible, and desperate enough to try anything." Meanwhile, Li Bo worked frantically in his laboratory, sharing his discoveries about Vorthak technology with scientists around the world. The young engineer had identified critical flaws in their energy systems that could be exploited with the right frequency. "Weapons. Their shields operate on harmonic principles," he explained to a team of physicists in Tokyo via secure video link. "If we can generate the correct resonance frequency, we can cause their own energy systems to work against them." Dr. Sarah Chen, a quantum physicist in California, studied Li Bo's data with growing excitement. "You're right. It's like an opera singer breaking a wine glass with her voice. The glass is not weak, but it has a specific frequency that causes it to destroy itself. Can we build weapons that generate these frequencies?" asked Dr. Muller, a German engineering specialist. "We do not need weapons," Li Bo replied with a smile. "We can modify existing infrastructure. Radio towers, power stations, even large buildings can be turned into resonance generators. The Vorthak will never expect an attack from a shopping mall." Across the globe, humans began the most sophisticated military mobilization in their history, disguised as normal daily activities. In New York, construction workers began routine maintenance on skyscrapers that would actually install resonance equipment. In Moscow, road repairs created hidden sensor networks. In Tokyo, telecommunications upgrades established new communication systems that could not be intercepted by alien technology. To the Vorthak observers monitoring from orbit, humans appeared to be going about their normal lives. They saw construction work, traffic, people going to jobs and schools. They did not recognize it as the largest military preparation in Earth's history. Captain Zorhan reported his observations to Admiral Kexthal with growing confusion. "Sir, the humans appear to be continuing their normal activities. There is no sign of military mobilization or panic. They are probably too primitive to understand the threat," Admiral Kexthal decided. Or perhaps they are in denial. But Captain Zorhan was not convinced. His job was to observe and analyze enemy behavior, and something about the human response felt wrong. In every previous conquest, the target species had either surrendered immediately or begun desperate military preparations. These humans seem to be doing neither. "Sir, I recommend increased surveillance. Their behavior does not match established patterns." "You worry too much," Admiral Kexthal replied. "In 2 days we will demonstrate our power, and they will surrender like all the others." Ms. Choi Sun spent those 2 days in seemingly innocent cultural exchanges with the Vorthak linguists and cultural officers. She asked questions about their art, their history, and their social customs. The aliens were happy to share, thinking that cultural education would help the humans understand the inevitability of Vorthak rule. But Ms. Choi Sun was actually conducting intelligence gathering at the highest level. Every conversation revealed more about Vorthak military doctrine, social hierarchy, and technological capabilities. She learned that their society was extremely rigid, with strict rules about chain of command and tactical procedures. They cannot adapt quickly to unexpected situations. She reported to Dr. Park Hai. "Their military thinking is very formal and follows specific patterns. If we break those patterns, they will struggle to respond effectively." Dr. Kim Dae continued his scientific exchanges with Vorthak researchers, asking innocent questions that revealed the limits of their technological understanding. He discovered that while their engineering was powerful, it was not creative. They had developed one way to solve each problem and never considered alternatives. "They have faster-than-light travel, but they use only one method," he explained to his international colleagues. "They have energy weapons, but only 3 basic types. They have shields, but they all operate on the same principles. Their technology is advanced but not diverse. This lack of diversity would become a critical weakness." Around the world, human preparations continued at a pace that amazed even the coordinators. Scientists shared data across international boundaries with unprecedented cooperation. Military forces integrated their planning without the usual political delays. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock to modify equipment and infrastructure. Libo's resonance weapon designs were tested simultaneously in 12 countries. Dr. Park Hai's tactical plans were refined by military strategists from 30 nations. Ms. Choi Sun's intelligence about Vorthak psychology was distributed to special operations forces on every continent. The most remarkable aspect of the human response was its coordination without central control. Unlike the Vorthak, who required strict hierarchy and clear command structures, humans were organizing themselves through voluntary cooperation and shared information. Captain Zorhan noticed this phenomenon, but could not understand it. "Admiral, the humans appear to be coordinating globally, but we cannot identify their command structure. They seem to be acting independently while somehow working together." "Impossible," Admiral Kexthal declared. "All intelligent species require central authority for coordination. These creatures are probably just panicking randomly." But the captain's analysis was correct. Humans were demonstrating something the Vorthak had never encountered, a species capable of spontaneous, voluntary cooperation without authoritarian control. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Admiral Kexthal prepared to demonstrate Vorthak power by destroying a human city. He expected this show of force to bring immediate surrender, just as it had on 47 other worlds. He had no idea that he was about to face something completely different, a species that had spent their entire history fighting each other and had learned every possible way to turn weakness into strength. The Vorthak were about to discover that size really did not matter when facing an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. Admiral Kexthal had lost his patience. The 48 hours had passed and the humans had not responded with surrender. Instead, they had sent another polite message suggesting continued diplomatic discussions and offering to provide cultural exchange programs for Vorthak visitors. "Enough of this nonsense," the Admiral declared. "Prepare to demonstrate our power. Target the human city they call Tokyo. One precise strike to show them what resistance costs. The massive Vorthak destroyer Iron Thunder moved into position above Japan. Its plasma cannons charged with enough energy to level several city blocks. Captain Mordax commanded the ship with cold efficiency, following standard Vorthak doctrine for intimidation strikes. But as the Iron Thunder prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. Li Bo's carefully calculated resonance weapon activated from a seemingly innocent radio tower in downtown Tokyo. The signal was not strong enough to damage anything on Earth, but it was precisely tuned to the harmonic frequency of Vorthak's shield generators. The Iron Thunder's shields began to vibrate. At first it was barely noticeable. Then the vibration grew stronger. Within 30 seconds, the ship's own shield energy was creating a feedback loop that the crew could not control. "Captain," shouted the ship's engineer, "our shields are destabilizing. The energy is building beyond safe levels." Captain Mordax had never encountered anything like this. "Shut down the shields." "I cannot, sir. The resonance is preventing normal shutdown procedures." The Iron Thunder's shields reached critical frequency and began tearing the ship apart from the inside. The enormous vessel, designed to withstand nuclear weapons, was being destroyed by its own defensive systems. Emergency alarms echoed through the corridors as the crew evacuated to escape pods. Admiral Kexthal watched in horror as his destroyer broke apart and crashed into the Pacific Ocean. The humans had not used massive weapons or overwhelming force. They had used the ship's own technology against itself. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Captain Zorhan studied the sensor readings with growing fear. "Sir, the attack came from their civilian infrastructure. They turned a simple radio transmitter into a weapon that could destroy our most advanced ships." This was the beginning of the most confusing battle in Vorthak history. General Yunte coordinated the global human response from his command center in Seoul. The first successful test of Li Bo's resonance weapons had proven that human tactics could work against Vorthak technology. Now it was time to implement Dr. Park Hai's strategy on a worldwide scale. "All units, begin asymmetric engagement protocols," he ordered. Around the world, the human response unfolded in ways that completely baffled the alien invaders. Instead of massing armies for traditional battles, small teams of humans began appearing where Vorthak forces least expected them. In New York, a Vorthak landing party found themselves surrounded not by soldiers, but by maintenance workers who had modified the city's subway system into a series of traps and ambush points. The alien size advantage became a serious disadvantage in the narrow tunnels beneath the city. Dr. Park Hai had studied every successful guerrilla campaign in human history. She knew that larger, more powerful forces could be defeated by smaller, more flexible enemies who refused to fight conventional battles. "Make them fight on our terms, not theirs," she had instructed military leaders around the world. "Use their size against them. Use their expectations against them. Use their own technology against them." In London, Vorthak troops discovered that humans had somehow infiltrated their communication networks. Every order they gave was intercepted, analyzed, and countered before they could execute their plans. The aliens found themselves constantly one step behind an enemy they could barely see. Ms. Choi-sun's intelligence about Vorthak psychology proved invaluable. She had learned that their rigid military hierarchy made them vulnerable to confusion when their command structure was disrupted. Human cyber warfare specialists used this knowledge to create false orders and contradictory commands that left Vorthak units paralyzed by uncertainty. They cannot think outside their established procedures. Ms. Choi-sun explained to the special operations teams, "If you can break their normal patterns, they will not know how to respond." In Moscow, a Vorthak assault force found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Small groups of humans would appear, strike quickly, and vanish before the aliens could respond. The massive Vorthak warriors found themselves shooting at shadows while their equipment mysteriously malfunctioned. Li Bo's resonance weapons had been installed in buildings, vehicles, and even personal devices throughout the city. The Vorthak could not identify the source of the attacks, because the weapons looked like normal human technology. Captain Zorhan reported the deteriorating situation to Admiral Kexthal with growing desperation. "Sir, our ground forces are taking heavy casualties, but we cannot locate the main human military units. They appear to be using some form of advanced camouflage technology. Impossible, Admiral Kexthal replied. Our sensors can detect any known stealth system. That is the problem, sir. They are not using any system we know. Their tactics are completely outside our tactical database. The truth was even more disturbing than Captain Zorhan realized. The humans were not using advanced stealth technology. They were using something far more dangerous: creativity. In Tokyo, a team of Japanese engineers had modified construction equipment to disrupt Vorthak vehicles. What looked like normal road work was actually a carefully planned operation to trap alien ground forces in areas where their size worked against them. In Berlin, humans had turned the city's public transportation system into a weapon. Trains, buses, and subway cars had been modified with Lee-Bose resonance generators. The Vorthak found themselves under attack from vehicles they had dismissed as primitive civilian transport. Dr. Kim Day coordinated scientific teams that had discovered how to turn Vorthak technology against itself. By carefully analyzing the energy signatures of alien equipment, human scientists could predict and counter almost any Vorthak weapon system. Their technology is very powerful but very predictable, Dr. Kim Day explained to military commanders. Once we understand how their systems work, we can create countermeasures that they cannot adapt too quickly. The most devastating human tactic was their use of Vorthak efficiency against them. The aliens had designed their systems for maximum power and minimum flexibility. When humans found ways to disrupt those systems, the Vorthak could not adapt because their technology was not designed for adaptation. Admiral Kexthal watched his invasion force suffer losses at an unprecedented rate. Vorthak ships were being destroyed by weapons they could not detect. Vorthak ground forces were being defeated by enemies they could not find. Vorthak communication systems were being compromised by techniques they did not understand. Sir, Captain Zorhan reported, his voice shaking. We have lost 6 ships and 40% of our ground forces. The humans are using our own size against us. They attack from positions we cannot reach, using weapons we cannot identify, following tactics that are not in any military database. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Kexthal felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. How can creatures so small be so dangerous? He wondered aloud. The answer was something the Vorthak had never encountered. A species that had learned to survive by being smarter rather than stronger, more creative rather than more powerful, and more adaptable rather than more rigid. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson about the difference between size and strength, between power and intelligence, between force and ingenuity. And the Vorthak were learning that lesson the hard way. Admiral Kexthal stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, staring at the reports that should have been impossible. In 3 days of fighting, the Vorthak Empire had lost more ships than in their previous 10 conquests combined. Worse than the losses was the complete failure of everything they thought they knew about warfare. Sir, Captain Zorhan reported quietly, we have lost 12 ships, 60% of our ground forces, and our communication networks are completely compromised. The humans continue to attack using methods we cannot predict or counter. The Admiral looked at the tactical display showing Earth. The blue planet seemed peaceful from space, but he now knew it contained the most dangerous enemy the Vorthak had ever faced, not because humans were stronger or more advanced, but because they were something the Vorthak had never encountered: unpredictable. Captain, prepare a message requesting parley, Admiral Kexthal said finally. Captain Zorhan stared at his commander in shock. Sir, the Vorthak Empire has never requested parley. We conquer or we destroy. The Vorthak Empire has never faced anything like these humans, the Admiral replied. Send the message. The human response came within hours. General Yunte agreed to meet aboard the Vorthak flagship, but with conditions that would have been insulting from any other species. The humans would bring their own security team, their own communication equipment, and their own translation systems. The Vorthak agreed to everything. Dr. Kim Day, General Yunte, and Ms. Choi-sun arrived at the World Render in a small human shuttle. The 3 tiny figures walked through corridors designed for 12-foot giants, escorted by Vorthak guards who had learned to fear creatures half their size. Admiral Kexthal waited in his command chamber, a vast room that emphasized the size and power of Vorthak leadership. But when the humans entered, the Admiral felt small for the first time in his life. Admiral Kexthal, General Yunte said with a polite bow. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. The Admiral studied the three humans. They were so small he could have crushed any of them with one hand. Yet they had defeated his entire invasion force. It was like being conquered by children, except these children had proven to be more dangerous than any warrior he had ever faced. I do not understand, Admiral Kexthal said finally. How did you defeat us? We are larger, stronger, more advanced. Our weapons are more powerful, our ships are faster, our technology is superior. Dr. Kim Day smiled gently. Size is not the same as intelligence, Admiral. Strength is not the same as capability. Advanced technology is useless if it cannot adapt to new situations. Your species judges ability by physical size, Ms. Choi-sun added. But intelligence has nothing to do with how tall you are. Creativity comes from thinking, not from muscle. General Yunte activated a small device that projected a holographic display. Admiral, let me show you something about human history. We have fought thousands of wars among ourselves. In every conflict, we learned that the larger army does not always win. The stronger technology does not always triumph. The species that survives is the one that can adapt fastest to changing circumstances. The hologram showed human battles throughout history. Small armies defeating larger ones. Weaker technologies overcoming stronger ones. Creative strategies triumphing over brute force approaches. Your empire has won 47 conquests because you have never faced real resistance, General Yunte continued. Every species you encountered either surrendered immediately or fought using conventional tactics that your superior technology could easily defeat. We did neither. Admiral Kexthal studied the historical data with growing understanding. You used our expectations against us. Exactly, Dr. Kim Day confirmed. You expected us to fight like every other species you had conquered. When we refused to follow those patterns, your tactical systems could not adapt. Ms. Choi-sun leaned forward. Admiral, your species has tremendous advantages. Your technology is impressive, your ships are powerful, your soldiers are strong. But you have one critical weakness: you cannot improvise. Improvise? The Admiral asked. Create new solutions when old solutions do not work, General Yunte explained. Change tactics when circumstances change. Think of new ways to solve problems when traditional methods fail. Li Bo's voice came through the communication system from Earth. The young engineer had insisted on participating in the negotiations, even though he remained in his laboratory. Admiral, your technology is like a very powerful hammer, Li Bo said. It works perfectly for hitting nails. But when you encounter a screw, you keep trying to hit it with the hammer instead of finding a screwdriver. Admiral Kexthal was quiet for a long moment, processing this new way of thinking about capability and intelligence. What do you want from us? He asked finally. Complete withdrawal of all Vorthak forces from our solar system, General Yunte stated. Recognition of Earth's sovereignty and our right to exist without interference. And in return, Dr. Kim Day smiled. We would like to offer you something your empire has never received from a conquered species. Partnership. The Admiral frowned. Partnership? Your technology is powerful but inefficient, Li Bo explained through the communication system. We can show you how to improve your energy systems, make your ships faster, and reduce your resource consumption by at least 50%. Dr. Kim Day activated another holographic display showing improved Vorthak ship designs. These modifications would make your vessels more effective while using less energy. Your empire could expand faster and more efficiently. Why would you help us after we tried to conquer you? Admiral Kexthal asked. Because cooperation is more profitable than conquest, General Yunte replied. You tried to take our world by force and failed. But if we work together, both our species benefit, Ms. Choi-sun added. Besides, there are probably other species in the galaxy that would benefit from learning what we have learned, that intelligence and creativity matter more than size and strength. Admiral Kexthal considered the offer. Everything the humans said made sense, but it contradicted everything the Vorthak Empire had believed for centuries. My superiors will not understand this, he said slowly. Then we will help you explain it to them, Dr. Kim Day offered. We can provide complete documentation of how we defeated your invasion force. Your military analysts will learn valuable lessons about adaptability and creative problem solving. Li Bo transmitted detailed technical specifications for improved Vorthak technology. Admiral, These upgrades alone will save your empire more resources than you would have gained by conquering Earth. Admiral Kexthal studied the technical data with growing amazement. The human improvements to Vorthak technology were elegant, efficient, and revolutionary. They turned brute force systems into sophisticated tools. You are offering to make us stronger after we attacked you. We are offering to make you smarter, General Yunte corrected. Strength without intelligence is just destruction. But intelligence with strength can build civilizations. The Admiral made his decision. I accept your terms. The Vorthak Empire will withdraw from your system and recognize Earth's sovereignty. Captain Zorhan prepared the necessary communications to Vorthak High Command. But Admiral Kexthal had one more task. Captain, prepare a priority message to all Vorthak fleets, he ordered. Mark this system as protected space, and send this warning to any ship that approaches. The small beings of Earth possess capabilities that exceed their physical appearance. They have defeated a full Vorthak invasion force through intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. Do not judge them by their size. Do not underestimate their abilities. Do not attempt conquest. Approach only for peaceful contact and mutual benefit. 6 months later, Dr. Kim Day published the first joint human Vorthak research paper on efficient energy systems. General Yunte established Earth's first interstellar defense network, based on adaptive tactics rather than superior firepower. Libo completed construction of humanity's first faster-than-light engine using improved Vorthak technology. And throughout the galaxy, other species began receiving an important message. Size does not determine capability, strength does not guarantee victory, and the smallest packages sometimes contain the greatest surprises. The Vorthak Empire learned to ask questions before making assumptions. Other species learned that humans were not to be judged by their appearance. And Earth became known as the planet where giants learned humility from creatures half their size. It was the beginning of a new age of galactic cooperation, started by a species that proved intelligence mattered more than intimidation. Creativity was stronger than force, and working together achieved more than conquest ever could. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never judge a book by its cover, especially when that book might know how to rewrite the rules of the game entirely.